On today's episode, we're going to be discussing celebrity lighting designs and how we use them to show off their artwork. So if you've got some artwork that you're desperately keen to highlight and show off, keep watching this video. Hi, I'm James. I'm one of the directors here at Astra Lumos, and on today's episode, we're discussing celebrity lighting designs and how we use them to show off celebrity artwork. Now, traditionally, if you go to an art gallery, they are normally set up with track lighting. And the benefit of track lighting is obviously you can move lights really easily. Generally, that's because art galleries and just galleries in general mix up, change what they are showing periodically. So what the track and track style lighting allows is greater flexibility to be able to either move the lights left, right, forwards or backwards, that sort of thing, just to be able to make sure that whatever piece of artwork you're showing is well lit in terms of shadows and interest, how you're creating the interest, how you're minimizing shadows, that sort of thing. But also that if it's small, the light can be moved closer, and if it's larger, the light can be moved further away. Now, obviously, in a property, generally once you decide on how you're going to furnish it or what piece of artwork is going where, once it's hung or fitted or however it is, I mean, if it's a statue or that sort of thing, generally once it's in position, not saying it never moves, I'm just saying it very rarely moves. Sometimes they do get changed out, but that probably only happens once. Most times I've had it happen to me is probably 3 times in a client's house where they've bought something, they bought something as the property was finished just to put there, then found something that they actually liked, and then when they sort of went travelling, came back with something else. Now, there are light fittings out there. iGazzini is a particular brand that springs to mind that actually has shutter style light fittings purposefully designed for this, just for this. So, and what I say by shutter in terms of, if you imagine you've got a round light fitting or a square one, they do a square one, and they have sliders that slide in either way, so that as you're projecting, if you're projecting sort of your round dot on the wall, and you have your slider that moves in that way, that way, that way, and that way, you can then obviously highlight just the artwork on the wall. And that works really wonderfully as long as A, it doesn't really change that much, and B, you're after a square piece of light for a square piece of artwork. My personal preference, and this is my personal preference, I prefer just sort of a little bit of highlight on the artwork with a bit of glow around, so that your eye is naturally drawn to the picture, and you do obviously have the overhang, and I quite like that, because actually the focus of the light is the artwork, but I quite like seeing how people frame stuff and just how people do things differently. So that's my opinion and that's my preference. However, everybody's got their own preference and opinion. Where I was going with this is that when we work with a client and when we start looking at artwork, depending on what the artwork is, so if it is a statue, we'd light it slightly differently compared to if it's a picture that's hung on sort of a string, so there's that sort of that lean forward normally, versus a picture that's sort of really stuck tightly to a wall. Pardon me. So those are all the things, and those are all the questions that we really get into when we're discussing artwork. I'll put a couple of pictures up of where we've lit artwork, and you can see that by shining light, not necessarily directly at the painting, which is the picture I have in mind, actually shining it from a slight angle gives it actually a little bit more interest. And what we did in that scenario is we made sure it was a white light fitting on a white beam so that all you noticed was the artwork. So that's what we, when I say we, at Astra Lumos, that's what we like to do. We want you to see what we are lighting. We don't like people to look at the fitting unless it's a decorative chandelier or a decorative wall light, or the light fitting is part of the artwork. I'll put up another picture of a Porta Romana wall light, and you can see that the wall light is part of the artwork. So unless it's something pretty and something specific, for us, we don't want you to see the light fitting. We rarely want you to see the artwork or the statue or whatever we are trying to highlight. We don't. Light fittings can be pretty, but on the whole, what we're trying to light tends to be better looking. So that's where we come from. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense and you can see where I'm going with this. If not, or if you're struggling with some artwork, or perhaps you just need a bit more ideas, do reach out and we'd love to help you. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.